Oof. What a way to start off Friday right there. Yeah. Little Led Zeppelin for you with Kashmir. That's from their sixth album, Physical Graffiti, 1975. Written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. According to Wikipedia, anyway, it was written over a period of 3 years. With lyrics dating back to 1973. How about that? Good morning, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours here at Vaquero Radio. It is Friday, February 5th, the end of week 4 of the spring 2021 semester. Hopefully everyone's doing well, getting used to being back in class. It's 10:09 and 65 degrees here in the beautiful Rio Grande Valley from the UTRGV Edinburgh campus. We'll be here till 11 o'clock, playing some great music for you. Again, started off with some Led Zeppelin. We'll stick with a little bit of rock and roll, and then maybe move into something a little more, I don't know what we would call it. Not controversial, really. Although I do have Rage Against the Machine slated for a little bit later. So thanks for listening. And we'll go back to some more early rock and roll, again from the 1970s. Here's Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band with Hollywood Nights on Office Hours at Vaquero Radio. Boy, one of these things is not like the other. That was certainly a departure from our initial set here on Office Hours. Good morning, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours on Vaquero Radio. That was Jane's Addiction with Mountain Song. Got to see that performed live at their very first farewell concert. This is back in the early 90s in Honolulu, Hawaii at the Aloha Tower. Boy, what a show. Perry Farrell, the lead man in Jane's Addiction, did a little bit more than half the show buck naked. That's right, buck naked. It was they had some pictures. Well, nothing too graphic, but they did have some pictures in Rolling Stone of him performing without clothes. It was hot that night, so I can't blame him. Aloha Tower is kind of an outdoor venue, but it was inside. It was under a pavilion. Great show. Jane's Addiction, 1988 on that one. It doesn't even feel like it was that early. Before then, we heard Boston from their self-titled debut album. That was 1976. And before then, we started off that set with Bob Seger, Hollywood Nights from the 1978 record. Let's see, what was it? A Stranger in Town. A little Bob Seger there for you. Thanks for tuning in. It is 65 degrees in the Rio Grande Valley, Friday, February 5th. We'll be here till 11 o'clock. Got some great music coming up for you, so make sure you stay tuned. Here's a little Morphine for you with Thursday on Vaquero Radio. Bandwagon by R.E.M. That's from their 1987 album Dead Letter Office. Boy, that brings back some memories, that's for sure. Picture, I don't know, 4 young 20-year-old guys. It's the middle of the night, say 2:30 in the morning or so, living in Northern California, and say, hey, I got a great idea. Let's take a road trip to San Francisco. Yeah, it was awesome. And we did it. Needless to say, we ran into some trouble along the way. Forgot to fill up with gas before we hit the road. That's not a good idea. Not a good idea. I'll leave it there. But before Bandwagon, we heard Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That was from their 1996 album Murder Ballads. Yeah, a little somber there. Where the Wild Roses Grow. That was with Kylie Minogue. She was the doing the duet with Nick Cave there in that song. And we started off that set with Morphine from their Cure for Pain record. That's 1993. So we're all in the 20th century still. I'm not sure if we'll even get to the 21st century this hour. Thanks for listening, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours, 10:34 and 65 degrees here in the Rio Grande Valley at the beautiful UTRGV Edinburgh campus. We'll be here until 11 o'clock, and then we'll get back to some other regular programming, if you will. Let's go and take it up a notch. We're going from, beats per minute. We're going to go a little bit down from Bandwagon, but hold on to your seats. This is Rage Against the Machine with Testify. Soundgarden with Birth Ritual. That was from the soundtrack to the movie Singles. We're still back in the 20th century. What are we doing here, DJ Doc V? 1992 on that one. Before then, Smashing Pumpkins from their debut album Gish, 1991. And we started off that set with, we almost got into the 21st century with that one, Rage Against the Machine from the album The Battle of Los Angeles with Testify. Yeah, I had to make sure that I had to review the lyrics there before we put that on the air. Because, it's a Rage Against the Machine. You never know what they're going to say in there. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours. Got another 10 minutes. I got another couple songs played for you. But as is standard here on Office Hours, let's talk about what happened today in history on February 5th, 1994. White supremacist Byron de la Beckwith is convicted in the murder of African-American civil rights leader Medgar Evers. Over 30 years after the crime occurred, Evers was gunned down in the driveway of his Jackson, Mississippi home on June 12th, 1963, while his wife and the couple's 3 small children were inside. Also today in history, 2003, Secretary of State Colin Powell speaks at the UN, justifying the U.S. invasion of Iraq. We all know how that went, or how it's still going. Let's see, what else here? FDR, in 1937, FDR announces on this day in history his plan to, quote-unquote, expand the Supreme Court to as many as 15 judges. I talk about this in my Apollos 2305 class. Ostensibly, it was presented to, make the court more efficient and to help them do their important work. But he was tagged right away by the press, the media, as a court packing plan, something that has recently been in the discussion with the new president, Joe Biden. People concerned that he might try to do that. He's not a fan of it, according to the new president. But we'll see what happens. What else happened? Let's see. Hank Aaron, born on this day in 1934. He recently passed. He was the baseball slugger who broke Babe Ruth's legendary record of 714 homers. He's born in Mobile, Alabama. He began his professional baseball career in 1952 in the Negro League and joined the Milwaukee Braves of the Major League in 1954. Millard Fillmore, born in 1826, he marries Abigail Powers in 1826. He would go on to become the nation's 13th president. And United Artists, for you movie fans out there, created on February 5th, 1919. Hollywood heavyweights Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith joined forces to create their own film studio, which they called United Artists Corporation. So there's a little not for further study. My students know what that means. But a little bit of what happened today in history. It's 10:51 here in the Rio Grande Valley. Thanks for listening to Vaquero Radio, and I am DJ Doc V. This is Office Hours. And also, as is customary every week, around this time in the show, I recite a poem. So I picked one out for you today. This is a little bit more recent, 2010 by poet Mary Oliver. The title of this is I Worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up, and took my old body, and went out into the morning, and sang. That was a poem by Mary Oliver, titled I Worried, here on Vaquero Radio. It's 64 degrees in the Rio Grande Valley here on the beautiful UTRGV Edinburgh campus, coming to you live from South Texas. 10:53. We got another few minutes for you before we put you on the 11 o'clock hour. And right now, I think I'm going to play, once again, 20th century music here. This is going back, way back, 1983, from album of the same name. This is the Alan Parsons Project with Ammonia Avenue on Vaquero Radio. Thanks for listening.